Hello, my beautiful people. Back to the grind again for another exciting video, attempting again to simplify. Okay, so what I wanted to get into today, why I called this basically permission to be yourself. I wanted to do a little bit of explaining for those of you who need to hear this and what I am talking about, because as I've talked about before, if you haven't listened to me before, there are people that are born with a strong sense of self-assuredness in the world. Very powerful. I consider those people. And then there are some of us who I realized I was a people pleaser later in life, feeling like I need approval to make a decision. My dad made a lot of decisions for me. So, what I'm going to do to get to the point is I'm going to do a little bit of explaining, and then I'm going to give you some real life examples of how you can apply this, okay? So, let's get right to it. But before we do, I always like to say, and what I talk about in these different areas is that it is okay that all of this may take you a very long time. Okay, it could take years. Like I've said before, this isn't a quick fix. It takes effort. If you want to use the word, I don't like to use the word hard. I'm not saying that it's not hard and doesn't have certain areas, but since I guess am so persistent or have become so persistent, I look at things differently. And I've talked about this before, that pain has always given me information. And some stuff I don't even consider a pain, right? Or has caused pain. So I guess that's where I'm different there. Um, so this episode, like a lot of them, I'm trying to help give comfort to you. Uh, and if it makes sense to you, right, you could apply it. Or you're like, maybe I want to try that, right? See if it works. And so I like to give you little baby steps, um, on that path, even if it does take you are feeling like your entire lifetime. Okay, and a lot of these things took me a long time as well. It's just when I got into self-defense now, so it's going to be 10, 11, 12 years ago, because of everything I learned in there. I don't know to say it excelled, but it did excel and propel my journey through assertiveness, self-assuredness, confidence to walk the world, to feel like I can do it, and also help manage my relationships. Anybody I encounter, I consider them all, even if it's just a fleeting interaction with somebody. Okay, so permission. I needed to hear this, right? Because this is related to rights. So when I felt like I had rights, it became easier for me to speak up for myself, defend myself, whatever it is, because there still were fears underlying my actions, right? So whether that's fear of disappointing, right? It started with my dad, fear of disappointing him, fear of disappointing others. And it's over what I feel like can be kind of dumb stuff. It wasn't always huge decisions, but I definitely didn't want to disappoint. Okay, so that's how I know what I know, and that's how I bring it back to the whole rights thing, feeling like you need people's approval, and whether it's somebody that is important to you or not, there's some sort of seeking approval, right? From society, it could be from society. So you first need to understand that you are being influenced, right? That's the when I talk about in regards to mindset, understanding that you are under the influence, right? If you aren't programming your own brain, somebody else is. Sounds really basic, right? And but in our own minds, we may not feel like we are programmed, um, or influenced, like I said. So that's why it becomes more difficult to be your own person and follow what everybody else is doing. Follow culture, follow society. And that's what I'm going to get into next, talking about the punk rock mindset in a way. Okay, so we're going to speed it up because I'm not here to talk about punk rock philosophies, which there is another episode on that in one of my playlists that I can't think of right now. Is that supporting of, so not only it was a music, it was a philosophy. Not everybody lives by this, okay? I'm not, sometimes people take away from it as just like an angry angst. They just kind of like, I don't know, fuck the world kind of mentality. And so if you want to go look it up, there are many different styles, and actually, more of the pop punk, a lot of people more so enjoy. So that would be like Operation Ivy, Rancid, NoFX, Bad Religion, Lagwagon, Pennywise. Pennywise, I don't think really consider be more popish, but those are kind of the popular ones you might hear out there, other than like what I'm used to listening to, which was more of the angry speaking out. Bad Religion has a lot of theological, I think that's the word to put it, of the things they talk about. And you can dive deep more into him if you want to. But Minor Threat was, of course, one of my favorites, and he was on one of my shows, Ian Mackay. So the point of all of that, okay, so why I want to bring it back and why I'm talking about it is such a kick-ass movement known for drunks and people that don't shower. I wasn't like that, but there is a stereotype around it, right? There's stereotypes among different groups of people. Sometimes they are true, sometimes they are not. Excuse me, I'm disgusting with my allergies. Okay, supporting of basically individualism, right? This is why the colored hair, the mohawks, the tattoos back then, the way they dressed, very outlandish or whatever it is, right, to pop culture. It was like defying the mainstream, supporting the middleman. You know, you're going to support the mom and pop stores aside from like the Walmarts and all the different things, right? In some ways, I feel like I have sold out because I have shopped at these different places, right? Because you have to get really unique and all of that if you want to try and avoid all these things in life. Mass consumerism. Okay, so the reason I'm bringing that up is the singing and the lyrics and all of the empowerment. Those are the roots and helped me very much in life and were gave me a sense of belonging. So maybe that is something you can relate to, right? So I'm going to start with that. And that's what I wanted to go with. So that all of my roots of kind of the defying the mainstream, they're going to do that, I'm going to do this. And also not relating to the conventional, traditional lifestyle. Now, that doesn't mean I'm anti anything. I just saw these things in culture that I was like, this is not me. I don't like that. I respect certain things, just like relationships, committed relationships. But if the structure comes from a relationship that is going to control me, I don't have any sense of freedom, all of those sorts of things, I'm not into that, right? Okay. So that's where that's at. I never realized in life how much my freedom was and how important my freedom was until like later down the road, because definitely my concepts were based around attachment. Not to say like 24/7 with somebody, but there was just a lot of in that way of love, which I feel like can be healthy, unhealthy in my opinion. I look at it as like, that's not good for me. I know that it's not good for me, you know? Okay, some people like that. Okay, so let's get right to it in the parts of these as examples. So the permission, I'm going to give you at the end some mindset of ways of how to speak to yourself. But I'm going to not make a promise this episode too long. I am going to challenge myself for under 20 minutes. Okay. Giving yourself permission and feeling the rights, I'm going to give you the examples. Okay, for example, there's so many different examples I can give you, but basically, let's start with the number one is that because I like so many different things, I like to wear different things, right? Mix and match, like preppy with whatever combat boots or whatever I'm doing, like things that somebody might say, like wearing plaid with like another pattern is a good example. But I think sometimes too, it depends on the person's who's wearing it and how they're wearing it. Okay, so I don't do that a lot. I'm just saying mixing patterns, for example. Maybe it's wearing gold and silver jewelry. For a long time, there were things called faux pas, right? If I'm using that correctly, like people would say, like, oh, after Labor Day or something, you're not supposed to wear this and this. These are just examples. So I got comfortable with wearing silver and gold together, and then it became in style, right? Maybe it's almost like become with myself that everything was like rebelling, like not going to grow long hair, that's too girly for me. Now it's like I'll never cut my hair short again. Maybe it's wearing my buddhas with Mother Mary, right? Because somebody, and I know when my mom was doing that, I thought that that was confusing. Okay, so let me give some other examples. So I could give more examples of how I live my life that's like, I'm just going to be me. And I'm going to love who I'm going to love. And I'm going to, what was the other thing I say? Love who you're going to love. And there was another thing telling me, like, nobody can tell me what I can't. It's like a can't do sort of thing, but with discretion. You know what I mean? Of course, I still respect people. And my husband and stuff like that. So I'm just wanting to share that with you. That sort of thing is just freedom can mean so many different things. Okay, so here are the examples. This is hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna tell you the hilarious example of my friend. Okay, just pretty much you can sound like a bad person, a bad parent, um, just in general, right, by making these comments. And so I want to give you permission to speak how you want to speak if you feel that you need to. Now, there's different ways to say it. I might not use the word hate. I think that's because that also generates a certain type of energy. So I'm not going to say that, use that word. I don't know that I would use it for anything unless maybe I'm saying I hate it that I procrastinate. But my homegirl was talking the other day and I was cracking up because she was talking shit about that supposed to be the happiest place on earth. And I was laughing because she was saying that she hates Disneyland. She has every right to. And I agree with her on many different levels that I'm not going to go into right now about Disneyland, but I'm not going to. Okay, so, but I thought that that was funny as shit. So that could make her look like, she is a bad person because everybody loves Disneyland and pop culture, right? Most, okay? Until you do the research on different things with that. Okay, so it's basically having that right to say that, right? Before I go into the other examples of the I don't want, this is not going to be under 20 minutes, people, because these are important. If you are a person, for example, we will give the example. I'm going to stay home and not drink with you all tonight. I'm going to read, right? I don't even really drink. I'm just giving you this example. Is that maybe when you are younger or whatever, or you first responders listening to this and your homies are going out and they're drinking and you don't want to go. Like you just don't want to go. Maybe you normally go with them. You keep going and you keep going out of peer pressure, whatever. It's having the words, it's having the rights, it's having the everything, right? So that's just an example. You're the nerd, right? That you're going to sit home and read. I'm the nerd, right? Okay, that's an example. The other things, which I think are very basic, I'm still going to say them. You're going to be like, because I think they're totally relatable. But basically, even in your mind, but you're saying them out loud, that you don't want to live that life, whatever it is, okay? Whatever it is you feel like you have to, whatever the pressures, okay? You could go down the list. I don't want to be an attorney, Dad. I don't want to go to college. I don't want kids. I don't want to get married. Talking like this. I'm not throwing my opinions on any of these. I am just going to give you examples, okay? Because this is not about me. The friend I told you, she said she hates Disneyland. I don't do the flu shot or vaccinations, right? This is another thing. I don't like cats or dogs. Everybody's entitled to say their sorts of things, but I'm not throwing my anything in here, okay? Because this video will be way long, even though it might make it funnier. Maybe it's, I don't want to be in a committed relationship if the person wants to control everything that I do and I have no freedom to be myself. Okay? Some people like that, but it's basically stating out loud, and I'm giving you permission to say this out loud. Because people in culture, we've followed these ways, and sometimes it doesn't work for everybody. And they might feel bad to say, I'm into my career. I'm not really interested in a family life. There's nothing wrong with that, because they also might be having a family life with their work people, especially first responders. Okay? It's okay to be like, you don't have the patience for kids. Or maybe you're like my stepdad, who had 7 other brothers and sisters, and he for sure knew that he didn't want to have them. Okay? So I'm just saying out loud that it's okay that you don't want to follow these things in culture. So I am giving you permission to say it's okay and it's safe to speak up if you feel even that you need to share this. Okay? Maybe you don't want to share this and you just want to keep it to yourself. That is okay. And again, people, this is also in the standing up inside of your mind or out loud, right, to your significant. I feel like, yes, while there is a certain level of dialogue and communication but that we need to have with our significant, yes, but there's also parts that maybe they can't comfort in, or they don't know how, or whatever the reason is. Everybody is on their own journey. So if you sit there waiting, feeling like you have to ask permission for everything to live your life and experiencing your lessons, you are going to be in that state. And do you want to be in that place in your life that you feel like you have to get approval and permission for every little thing? And people, it could be simply traveling. I know that my stepmom, who's now like 71 years old, her husband, number 2, which she has her own interesting journey with that too, for a long time, her husband gives her a problem about traveling, right? So I don't even remember the last time we talked. She's like, I'm just going to go, excuse me, back to the Philippines. So I'm sure that she has been in the 20 years that we have, after I have graduated and no longer live with her. I know that she's gone, but she is still even learning at her age to feel confident to do that, right? Because it may cause a problem. Okay? So, yes, we are trying to minimize problems, but you have to realize for yourself your happiness and your freedom. What does it mean to you? Okay? So, that is an example of traveling. Okay. Lastly, this is the mindset moving forward. Remember how I said I have my own hows, and maybe it works for you. How to move past, how to grow the balls, how to do all of this, okay? You have to feel confident in yourself, that you have rights, your opinions matter, and that your freedoms are something of importance to you. Is it something important to you, right? Because you're going to fight for your freedom if it isn't important to you. So, I'm giving you permission. You have the rights. It is safe. Okay, and there are different ways to bring these topics up with people if this is something you need to voice out loud. You may not necessarily need to voice it out loud, because I'm going to say again, people, this is energetic. So you can create in your mind, in your outside reality, once you feel safe to do this, okay? And that I am telling you that that you are safe, and it is okay, okay? Universe, God, source will bring these things in life to help you, okay? So I just want you to decide for yourself. Do you feel like you deserve it? Do you feel like you have rights? Is your freedom important to you? And being yourself, how important that is to you. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. If you want to be book nerd and or stay home and not go out, it doesn't have to be drinking. You just don't want to go out, right? So I want you to tell yourself, give yourself permission. It's okay. It's safe. You're going to allow yourself to make your own choices and not feel pressured. Okay? If you still feel pressured, what are they going to do? What are they going to say? How are they going to react? The parents aren't going to like it. I don't want to go to college. Oh, I forgot to put that in there, because we all know there are many ways to make money and can make good money without going to college, right? We're not diving into that subject right now. But perhaps you don't want to do those things. You just want to be happy, right? You want to travel the world. Maybe you want to be a missionary or a monk. By the way, those two things don't involve a family lifestyle. So it is outside the box. It is different, but people are doing it. Who is anybody to judge what life direction somebody is choosing just because they don't want to have these material things, the house or the cars or the money or whatever it is. Again, it is, if you want to look at it like a conditioning, we live in society. Excuse me. We live in society around us and we are seeing how other people live. Now, I never had pressures to actually do anything like I have to live a certain way. So it's interesting I have this perspective. You would think that I had some pressures on me to be a certain way, but I'm not. But I didn't. My dad just gave me a few books on here's some different career choices. And my stepmom never worked. And my mom did nails for a short period in life. But so I saw those kind of role models there, and my dad got laid off at 55. So this is where I'm speaking of there was no like, I don't want to do that or whatever it is. Don't make me. So I see from culture how much influence there is there. And what I guess they've kind of shown what happiness is or what makes you somebody, and the influence of Hollywood. So that is, I think, all I have to say at 22 minutes for today. I think I handled this well. And there's lots of more examples, people, I could give you, but I think what I really wanted to, with this episode, how important that word is, permission, because you might not even realize that you are doing it, that you are looking for approval, seeking approval, or what you're doing. Because in a sense, we care what other people think, whether it is your parents or your friends or whatever it is, maybe fear of making the wrong decision, which things I don't know to say that I look at as being wrong or a mistake because they're always something to be learned from. So that is for another show. So, recap. Don't be afraid to rebel in what the masses are doing. Be yourself, whatever that means. Sometimes it takes a long time to realize, and understanding like yourself, like me now, I know at this point, okay, that's not good for me. I got to look out for me there. My mental health is important. So I feel like that, yes, like they said, just comes with age and experience. Allow yourself to be yourself. Wear whatever it is you want to wear. Go listen to that music. Keep educating yourself about and expanding your mind and finding out who is that truly you. these people go off on these excursions. I was listening to another podcast about exploring life and themselves and trying to find out the meaning and asking all these sorts of questions. And some people got to do that way, right? Isolate. A lot of people don't do that, just keep distracting. But I spend a lot of time with myself and also my own therapy with my writing and talking here now. So I encourage you to sit with yourself and just start with that question of, not the question of, it's just the permission. Do you feel you have permission to live the life that you want and be yourself? Excuse me. And I will see you in the next video. And don't forget to check me out, Spotify and Pandora. Those are only audio only shows I post on my notes. There's first responder and veteran stuff, but there's also different variety stuff. And that's where the Ian Mackay and Henry Rollins are on there and talking about being an authority of himself. So it's okay if you're just learning what this all means to be an authority of yourself, be your own guidance system. Some people, they need faith or they need something else to help guide them, and that's all beautiful and good. But also me helping you, doing the writing exercises, encouraging and asking these questions that lie within yourself, and maybe helping you formulate those questions. Okay, so do you feel you have a right to live the life you want? Do you feel like you can be yourself? If you can't, why is that? Whose life are you living? And why are you seeking so much approval? You know, and again, go study the old ways of the authoritarian democratic like structuring and control, and you will see, I've talked about this before, that us being told no, the being spanked or some sort of punishment, you know, for not listening, right? Those were the consequences. That will help explain too. Okay, so I will see you next in the next video. Thank you for listening, and I hope this helped you and you got some benefit from it. Okay, bye. Thanks.